we executed and played pretty well in the first half. In the third quarter we had 2 third downs that we didn't execute, and then we never got the ball back. And their offensive line kind of took the game over in the third quarter, and really, just kind of dominated us. So you can't have the ball. You got to stay on the field and execute on those third downs, so you're not standing on the sideline the whole third quarter, and that's kind of where the game got away from us.
You talked about the program still making progress. Can that be tested again by how well you start performing in these against these Power 5 schools?
Yeah, I think that's definitely how well you go out there and compete, and how hard you play, and how well you execute. So I think it's it's going to be a great venue. It's a great place to play. I told our players the other day, I've been lucky enough to coach in that stadium twice, and really lucky enough to come out of there both times with a win. And it's a great place to go play. The fans are really good fans, and it's be a good opportunity for our players to go there. So test yourself against the best, and go in there and have it a game where you play really well.
I know in the past you said you'd like to have 1 or 2 of these games. But are you in favor of them happening this late in the season, or do you like them being the?
I don't know if you really. I think you just play them whenever they are. I don't know if it's. You don't really want them 2 in a row at the beginning of the year, so I just think whenever they come, then you go out and play them as hard as you can.
It'll be your third trip to Alabama this season. Is that tough? Is that
that's a little unique. I don't know if it's, just kind of that's the way the schedule worked out. Both other times we went down there, we played pretty well. So hopefully we did a great job getting the win at Troy, and one of our better games. We, made some silly mistakes in the second half, but the South Alabama game is probably one of the better games we've played all year. So it's third time to go back there. Hopefully we'll play well.
Do you guys really feel like you need to get Penny 30, 40 carries in the game and kind of stay with the game plan rather than get down early so you have to throw the ball as much as you guys did?
That really helps. Yeah, it helps when we can make sure that we can continue to give him the ball. Duck's back feeling better now, so maybe if we can give Penny the ball 22 times and Duck the ball 14 times or 16 times, that would probably be a good remedy. Otherwise, you just put too much pressure on the offensive line, pass protecting that many times.
Are there any holes with this Auburn team that you can notice?
They're really good up front on defense. Their defensive line is very, very solid, and then they run the ball real well. They do it a lot of different ways, getting a lot of different personnel groups and different formations, and he's done a great job of scheming for the run and then throwing deep, where he's been. So they're a good team, so we just got to go down there and try to execute. And you always game plan. The last couple of days you're game planning, you find things that you think are going to work, and you just got to go work them hard in practice and find a way to execute them.
Do you expect Russell Cave to be back for this?
Yes. Yep.
20?
Hopefully.
What's the message to kind of keep guys in it these last couple of weeks now that your postseason was out?
I think it's because that's why you play. It's kind of like if you're going to run the race, you run to win. If you're going to be in a football game, you play the football game to win. It's pride. It's getting better every single day. And for a lot of, we got a lot of guys coming back. So a lot of it's going out and getting better these next 2 weeks for next year and for their future and improving. So I think every day we step on the field, let's go out there and do everything we can to get better for individually as a player, and then as your position group, and then as your side of the ball, and then as a whole team. We just got to go out there and improve every day. And that's why you play. You step out there and play any sport or anything you do, you play to be your best and you play to win. So that's kind of been the message this week.
I feel like the guys are confident they can go down there and get a win this week?
I think our guys are always confident. I think you never want to go into a game thinking you're not going to win. You got to go into every game believing that if you play your best and everyone does their job and you play as hard as you can, you always got to believe you're going to win.
What do you think about the job that Gus Malzahn's done down there, coming from Sunbelt School and kind of taking the route that a lot of coaches do before they get to a big school like that?
Oh, I think he's a great coach. He's been a great coach everywhere he's been, from when he was at Shiloh Christian High School in Springdale, and he was at Springdale High. I remember going and when he had that unbelievable team at Springdale. I was at Louisville. I remember walking in and sitting in his office and trying to recruit some of those guys. And he did a great job as an assistant, at Arkansas and Tulsa, and then was the offense coordinator when they won it all at Auburn, and then did a really good job at Arkansas Stadium. Everywhere he's been, he's done a great job. He's a good football coach.
Do you really like to kind of study guys like that have had that?
Yeah,
much
I think
success
you
at
always,
this level?
no question that he, I think in the off season you always get tape of guys that you enjoy watching, and I've always enjoyed, watching the things he does. He does a good job scheming, and so, I've watched him a lot for years. So yeah, he's an excellent coach.
Does this game present the same opportunity it did as the USC game for Quentin Bradley in terms of kind of showing off a
For
good
sure.
front?
I think it's a big game for him and a big game for Penny. I think those are two guys that want to go out there and play really well, and show that they can play against, that level of talent. And so I think, it's a big game for everybody. Everybody should be excited to go play in that atmosphere and against, the Big Five level of players. And so they should be excited, but definitely for those two guys, it's a big game.
In terms of confidence of feeling like you guys can win, what role does Quentin play in that? He seems like one of those guys, spokesman for thinking you guys should go out and dominate every week. Yeah,
I think Quentin always believes that when he lines up across from somebody, that he's going to be better than the guy he lines up across from. So I think all the leaders just got to go out there, and I think it just starts with tonight's practice. Go out and get better tonight in practice. Do your job and improve on your technique and how you do things, and then do that again Wednesday and do it again Thursday, and go down there and play with unbelievable effort.
Quentin's one of the few guys that you kind of singled out when you first got here. One of the first guys that you met. How has he blossomed since you first met him, and kind of talked about his ceiling the way you did 3 years ago?
I think he's just really learned how to grind. I think he's learned how to work. I think it was something that he fought a little bit when we first got here. Didn't always understand, but he's really learned how to do it, and I believe that's why he'll go make a team. Because he does know how to work, and he does know how to lay it all out on the line and give it everything he's got, and I think that's going to pay huge dividends for him in his future.
To have a guy like that who can tell the younger guys what to do, does that make your job easier and the rest of the coaching staff? So you have the seniors who can help you out and coach really in some aspects?
I think once you get your program to where you really want it to be, and sometimes that's, sometimes 4 years, sometimes it depends. It depends where you're at and where you go into. But when you get the older guys that are just kind of policing everything, that's when you're in good shape.
In terms of preparation for a team that's got so much talent, does it make it tougher for your scout guys to kind of emulate what they do?
Yeah, it does. It's always sometimes, and that's why a lot of times in practice we go what we call crossover, and we really go offense against defense, running the other team's stuff anyway. Kind of how they do in a practice in the NFL. But definitely there's certain people in some weeks that it's hard to have the scout team be that guy, no question.
Does Auburn have guys like that this week?
Yeah, they got a lot of them. They got a lot of guys that are that way. So their whole defensive front, their running backs, a couple of their offensive linemen. So there's definitely, that's why we got to do, a lot this week. We'll just go against each other.
Considering how much you guys like to try to recruit SEC country a little bit, what does a game like this mean for your recruiting effort?
It's good. It's good to get down there and be in that area, and they see it. And we've been in Alabama 3 times this year, which is close to a lot of the different places that we try to recruit, so that's a good thing.
You mentioned playing with 14, 15 guys on offense and defense the last few weeks. How does that affect practice at all, or how does it affect practice?
Well, it just affects, kind of going back to the question earlier, when sometimes when your numbers are down, what it hurts as much as the games, it hurts your scout team. Because when you've lost numbers in your starters, then sometimes your scout team isn't quite as up to par as you'd want it to be, I guess is the best way to put it.
Who were some of those guys in previous preparation weeks that were hard to emulate?
Oh gosh, Georgia Southern's quarterback, their running back, Arkansas State, 23. There's been a lot of D linemen, most of the time it's probably the speed of the defensive line. Probably as you really look at it, it's the speed of the defensive line and the speed of the offensive skill players is probably the best way to put it.
Do you think naturally elevated his play the last 3 or 4 games? He's been pretty consistent, not a ton of turnovers, making a lot of the right reads, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's been playing very well. I think he's really improved over the last 4 weeks. It's probably the best way to put it. He's really picked up his game. He's been doing a good job, and that's great. We got to just keep that moving on.
Hey Dave, let's check in with Dave on the phone. Dave, do you have anything?
Yeah, thanks, Becky. Coach, when we're talking about some of the guys that are coming back, you look at a guy like Austin and just the season he's had. What kind of stood out to you most and maybe impressed you most about what he's been able to do for you guys, punting and kicking?
I think the biggest thing that impressed you about Austin is how much he's improved as his field goal kicking and how well he's improved on his kickoffs. He's been a great punter the whole time he's been here, but he really worked hard this offseason on becoming a better, more accurate field goal kicker, and he broke the school record for the most field goals. So I think he's really stepped his game up that way, and he's really improved on his kickoffs of getting, he's probably had 3 times the touchbacks this year that he had in the past.
When you have a guy like that, you can rely on when you want 6 points, but at least when you know that if you get down into opponent's territory, you can probably rely on 3. How much does that affect you, or how much does that change the game plan a bit?
I think it helps you a lot. So to make sure you don't come away with nothing, when you're down there, you make sure that's why I don't know where we're at anymore. At one time we were 1 or 2 in the country in red zone scoring. I think we're still in the top 10, but it really helps you. Make sure that you don't leave the red zone with no points. And the more points you can put up there, that just helps you as the game goes on.
And I know you were asked a little bit, but in these last 2 games, what do you want to see from your team? In these last 2 games, whether it is those young guys or even the guys that are seniors.
I just want to see them go out there and play with great effort and really improve on our execution. And do the little things right, pay attention to the detail, and really just do a great job of executing. I think that's the biggest thing we want to see.
Have you seen much of a change, just in the attitude? The bowl game, isn't likely now. So, have you seen the guys change, or they kind of kept the same kind of attitude out there?
No, I think, the second half last week probably we didn't play as well as we've been playing for the month previous. So we need to get back playing the way we played for a whole month and come out there and finish these last 2 games playing really hard and really well.
Thank you.
I know all the stadiums down there in the South are kind of unique in their own way. What's different about Jordan-Hare than the rest?
What's different? It's the crowd is. They have great fans and they're loud, but they're not. They're I don't know what the best word is. They're a little more polite to the visiting team. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. They're just. It's a really neat place to play, and in that pregame when the War Eagle flies down, that's pretty awesome. I was telling the players, if you don't get, goosebumps and chills and don't want to be ready to play at that moment of the pregame, then really you probably shouldn't be playing football.
You feel like you guys still enjoy these? You've been one side at these games against the Power 5 teams as you've been here. Feel like you still enjoy going down and playing those games? I
do. I still think it's a great atmosphere that some of them dream about, and it's stadiums that they want to play in, and they do want to play in. So I still think they step in there, and we've had, as a team, we maybe not, but we've had individuals that have played very well in some of these games, and so that's something that we look forward to this week.
Aside from Penny and Quentin, any other individuals do you expect to really have good games? Yeah,
I think, I hope they all do. But I mentioned those 2 because I think it's big for them, for their future.
And then a non-football question, a pretty cool moment for your family last week when your daughter was able to sign a national letter of intent.
Yeah.
Was that a pretty neat, unique moment for you guys?
It was awesome. That's something that family is the most important thing ever, and that was a great day for our family. She worked hard, she deserved it, and it's just kind of a ending of a lot of travel softball games, a lot of weekends, she played travel softball in 5 different states for a lot of good teams in different places, and so it was just a great ending of, well, not really ending, but it was a great day, and now it's the beginning of her to go have a great career at Montana.
You'll be making a lot of drives up to Missoula next year.
Yeah, we probably will be. It's not very far. It's just right over the mountain. It's an easy drive, so that's exciting.
Seems like Kalen's really kind of stepped up and taken that role. Can you just talk about his importance the last few games?
He really improved his practice habits. He really he's working harder in practice. He's improving that, and I think he's really stepping up. I kind of challenged him Sunday night in practice. I said, "Well, you really need to show me these last 2 games. Can you be the number 1 guy for next year? Can you be the guy that's going to go catch 80 balls in a season?" And that's something that I need to see every day in practice, and then that needs to carry over into the games. But he's done a pretty good job of that the last 3 weeks, so it'll be important for him to do it these next 2. All right. Thanks, guys.